Have you ever felt that someone owes you a truth, and that this truth is about to be revealed? This is no coincidence. If you are here, it's because the universe wanted you to hear it now. You are not here by chance. In this video, you will find out why that person who injured you is feeling the weight of their own silence, and why they will confess. She won't be able to escape, neither the truth nor of you. If this message has touched your soul somehow, it already leaves the like now. It helps this video get to more people who need to hear this truth. Subscribe not to lose any revelation like this. And comments down here number 22 if you felt that this video was made for you. Number 22 will show that you are in tune with this awakening and transformation energy. Get ready, because the revelation starts now, and will mess with you. Imagine trying to follow life normally as a silent but overwhelming force begins to tighten the chest. This is the reality for those who dared to betray or hurt someone spiritually high. They walk between us with a burden that no one sees, but growing every day. A fault that does not dissolve, a regret that does not give in. It is as if they are trapped in an invisible cell, where the key is the truth they refuse to say. The appearance can be of normality, but inside, there is an entire universe collapsing. They feel the heavy breath, the disordered thoughts, the restless heart. It's not just guilt, it's a spiritual imbalance. This is not a simple passing remorse. This guilt has roots that intertwine in the deepest of the soul, and every attempt to ignore it only makes it more alive, more fierce. It manifests itself in dreams, in the small accidents of everyday life, in the eyes they avoid and the words they lock in their throat. Those who betray a chosen not only break a connection, it causes a break with the spiritual axis itself. And that is precisely why nothing else works as before. Appetite disappears, sleep evaporates, and even the simplest pleasures become unbeaten. Unknowingly, they are summoned to an account adjustment with something that transcends any logical explanation. It is as if the universe had started a sacred call, a call that does not cease, does not fall asleep, does not shut up. The pressure grows quietly as water rising in a room without windows. There is nowhere to run, because the charge doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. It is the spirit asking for deliverance. And this liberation will only come with the so-called truth, with the confession made, with the courage to look into the eyes of the one who was wounded, and finally recognize the failure. This is the invisible arrest of those who made a mistake with those who carry light. Silence for many is peace, but for those who betrayed the confidence of an enlightened being, silence becomes torture. There is no external noise that can drown out the internal screams. They wake up in the middle of the night with their hearts fired, dreaming of past scenes, imagining the moment when everything could have been different. Mentally pass each word said, every attitude taken, trying to find justification. But the soul does not accept empty excuses. The soul wants healing. And for that, it requires the error to surface, that the truth will finally be pronounced, even if it donates. It is a subtle but constant agony, an annoyance that grows almost imperceptibly until it becomes unsustainable. In the midst of the routine, attention lapses, tears that run down without warning, a strange feeling that something is deeply out of place. The body gets sick, the mood oscillates, and the mind is lost in a maze of poorly resolved memories. What was supposed to be just a secret becomes an emotional prison, a stream that squeezes more every day. It is the price of maintaining silence before a soul that calls for redemption. And then comes the break point, the moment when even breathing seems to be a Herculean effort. The spirit begins to beg for liberation, and the only way out seems to be the act of confessing, not for fear of being discovered, but for the urgency of living in peace with himself. Because keeping a mistake is like walking with a spine stuck in the chest. No one sees, but the pain is constant. And when the chosen one becomes the mirror that reveals what was hidden, silence is no longer protection, and is punishment. The soul requires voice, and it will not rest until he is heard. There is a kind of insomnia that is not caused by coffee, stress, or over-technology. It is a spiritual insomnia. Not only does it prevent the body from resting, but drags the soul into a forced vigil, as if every awake second was a reminder of what needs to be said. But it was not. Those who hurt someone spiritually high feels it with double force. The nights are no longer refuge and are the scene of concerns. They lie down, but the spirit remains on alert, in conflict. The eyes are closed, but the mind shouts, re-enhanced, pleading for relief. The unlisted truth begins to materialize in dreams, in the shadows of the room, in the dawn whisper. It is not uncommon to wake up with their hearts on their jumps, sweating cold, muttering phrases like, "I need to count," or "I can't take it anymore." Sleep refuses to arrive because there is an unpaid debt, an open wound that only heals with the recognition of the error. And while the truth is attached, the rest will be denied. It is as if the universe conspired to keep consciousness on until it accepts it faced what it avoided for so long. And then, after sleepless nights, understanding begins to emerge. There is only one possible cure, and it is not in medicines, therapies, or distractions. She is in the courage to face the truth. Confession becomes the only possible gateway to the insown maze they have been lost, because there is no pillow that relieves the weight of a lie, and there is no blanket that warms a soul frozen by guilt. The only true sleep will come after the truth, said aloud with real regret. There is justice that is not written in human laws, nor does it apply to land courts. It is spiritual justice, and it is infallible. When someone hurts a chosen one, he is not just hurting a person, he is breaking a sacred link with the universe. And this rupture triggers forces that require rebalancing. No matter how much they try to move on, forget, or pretend nothing happened, there is an energy that moves, silent but powerful, charging every wrong step. And this charge does not come with visible threats, but with signs that only the spirit understands. Inexplicable anguish, ways that close, opportunities that evaporate. This divine force is not punitive, it is corrective. Its purpose is not to punish, but restore. But for this to happen, the offender must recognize that there was an imbalance, a break of confidence, a betrayal of values that goes beyond the physical. And the universe is in charge of creating situations that will tighten the siege until this recognition comes. The truth begins to infiltrate the most unusual moments. A deep, touched movie, a song that arouses memories, a casual meeting that reopens wounds. Everything comes to serve as an instrument of this invisible justice. The chosen one often does not even have to say a word. Its existence is enough. His own presence becomes a reminder of what needs to be corrected. And this is where the power of the sacred comes in, not as revenge but as a lesson. Those who hurt a being of light will be sooner or later brought back to the point where it all began. Not to suffer, but to understand, redeem yourself, and grow. And the first stage of this journey will always be confession. Spiritual justice requires truth as the basis for any restart. Some people only wake up when they collide with the light. And when someone hurts a high being, this collision does not only generate pain, it begins a process of transformation. At first it seems like chaos, repentance, fear, shame, but gradually, they begin to realize that this pain has a purpose, that you, the chosen one, was more than a character in their path. It was a portal, a mirror, a call to look inside and confront what they avoided for years. And that's where the record begins to fall. Maybe hurting you were, paradoxically, the first step of their own awakening. Your energy is not common. She exposes, she reveals, it transforms. And when someone acts against it, their own soul conflicts. Because deep down they recognize that the mistake made against you was actually against their own evolution. You become the milestone of one before and after. The break where everything that was false begins to crumble. They can't pretend anymore, they can't escape anymore. Each time they think of you, something inside them awakens, a consciousness that burns, a need to change. And that is why you are the key. Not because you need to do something, but because your simple existence carries the code of transformation. The confession they resist so much is, in fact, the ritual of passage, the old self crossing to the new. And as much as they resist, no matter how much they are struggling, they will understand. Without recognizing what they did to you, they will never be able to move spiritually. You were the chance that the universe gave them to evolve, and the truth, which they try to hide, is the door that still separates them from freedom. There are presences that heal, inspire, and illuminate, but there are also those who, even without saying a word, cause discomfort in those who carry secrets. And yours is just like that. When someone who injured you is close, something inside them gets in a clutter. It is as if your energy has the power to tune in higher frequencies, and anything misaligned, such as guilt, lies, or regret, begins to vibrate off the axis. They do not understand why, but their body reacts. They get restless, sweat cold, look away. The truth, who try so much to hide, seems to scream inside them when you enter the room. You act as an energy mirror. Its presence does not allow disguises, does not accept masks. She pokes wounds, widens what has been hidden, and pressures the spirit of the other to confront what needs to be confessed. It is almost physical. The voice fails. The gestures become rigid. The heart shoots. They feel exposed, naked before someone who, even without knowing the details, seems to see beyond. This feeling is not paranoia. It is energy perception. Their vibration confronts them with the truth they deny, and with each encounter the need to confess only grows, like a volcano about to explode. Over time, this pressure becomes unbearable. They start to avoid you, but it only intensifies the internal torment, because to run away from you is to escape your own conscience. The effect of your presence is not just discomfort, it is healing, a cure that requires error recognition as the first step. And as much as they resist, there is a time when they realize, you didn't come to condemn but to illuminate, and that's exactly what the most shakes them. For deep down they know that their light does not destroy them. It only forces them to face what they are real. When someone hurts a high spirit, the universe responds, but not with immediate thunderstorms or punishments. The answer comes in the form of subtle and growing blocks. The doors that previously opened easily begin to close. Opportunities evaporate. Relationships wear out without explanation. And what looked like a promising life comes to look like a dead fish maze. They try everything. Work harder, look for new ways, force new beginnings. But nothing flows. It is as if an invisible current kept them stuck in a stagnation cycle. And this current has a name: karma. This karma is not just the consequence of a wrong act. He is the energetic echo of an unlisted truth. While confession does not happen, the universe continues to send signs. Small alerts that grow in intensity. Delays, diseases, financial losses, loneliness. Each external symptom is a reflection of an internal imbalance. The error made against the chosen one becomes a spiritual anchor that prevents any real progress. And the more they resist the truth, the more this weight intensifies. It is like rowing against a cosmic tide that requires correction. At some point, the chip falls. They realize that nothing changes because something needs to be adjusted at the base, and that is what they did to you. Confession no longer arises as a gesture of kindness, but as a vital necessity, a last resort to break the cycle and allow life to flow again. They don't just want to apologize to you. They want to break free from the karma that choked them. And even without fully understood, they feel that only the truth can unlock the doors that the universe has locked. Confessing then becomes a rite of liberation. There are meetings in this life that are not random. They are reunions of souls, silent pacts signed long before birth. And when someone cheats on a chosen one, it doesn't just break an emotional bond. It breaks a spiritual contract. Even unknowingly, both found themselves in this plan to experience deep lessons. One should hurt, the other forgive. But what seems cruel, in fact, is an agreement that aims at evolution. But for this mission to be fulfilled, the error must be recognized, that the lesson be understood, and that learning be accepted. Otherwise, everything is suspended, unfinished, and the soul that failed is charged. This charge is not made with visible words or punishments. It is made through sensations, an inexplicable void, a constant feeling that something important is pending. They try to fill this hole with achievements, distractions, even new loves, but nothing satisfies. Because what is missing is not out, but inside. It is the fulfillment of the contract that requires being honored, and the only way to restore balance is to confess, assuming the error is the end point necessary for learning to complete, and the cycle can be closed. You were not a victim. It was Master. His presence activated a sleeping part in their soul, a lesson that could only be learned through pain. And now, it is up to them to conclude what was started. Confession in this context is no longer a request for forgiveness. It becomes a sacred act, a final signature in this spiritual agreement. And when they have the courage to look in the eye and tell the truth, the contract will be fulfilled. And only then can both follow free, lighter, and closer to the purpose that has united them from the beginning. You feel Even before words, before any evidence, something inside you already knew. His intuition is like a spiritual antenna, capable of capturing subtle vibrations that others ignore. And when someone cheats on you or hides something, this sixth sense begins to scream. You may not have proof, but you are sure. A silent restlessness, a discomfort that does not pass. The chosen one doesn't have to see. He realizes. And that deeply scares those who hurt him, because the fear of being discovered mixes with the fear that you already know everything, even in silence. This fear erodes them. Each time you calm them down, they feel like they were being read inside. It is a feeling of being naked in the face of an invisible radar. They try to act naturally, but stumble in their own words. They seek to move away, but discomfort pursues them. They know that there is something in you that goes beyond logic, an ability to touch the invisible, to sniff the truth in the air. And this perception puts them against the wall. You can't lie anymore. You can no longer hide. Confession begins to become inevitable not because you press them, but because silent intuition is relentless. His serenity says more than any accusation. And what scares them most is that even without speaking, you seem to have forgiven, but that only makes the weight bigger. They feel they need to say, they need to confirm what their soul already knows, not for yourself, but for themselves. Because living knowing that they are facing someone who sees beyond is to carry a clock bomb of guilt about exploding. The ego is master of creating illusions. It makes people believe they can make mistakes and follow unpunished, that the truth can be buried forever, that pride is an unbreakable shield. But when someone hurts a chosen one, the ego begins to dissolve slowly under the weight of the invisible. At first there is resistance, negation, justifications, escape. But over time, spiritual forces become more intense, and what seemed under control begins to crumble. They can no longer support the masks. Pride begins to seem ridiculous. The unbearable silence. It is as if the universe squeezed the walls around them. Everything that supported the ego, status, image, self-sufficiency, begins to crumble. And in the face of the presence of those who carry truth, the false collapse. They come to see themselves as they really are. Fragile, sorry, scared. The game of appearances loses meaning, and at that moment, which once seemed impossible, to admit the error, begins to seem necessary. The ego, who once shouted, "Never say," now whispers, "It's time to speak." Confession is no longer a defeat and becomes a liberation. No more judgment, shame, or repercussion. They just want to get the chest weight off, breathe again. The ego finally surrenders to the truth, and in this act of surrender is born the possibility of rebirth. Because only when the ego falls can the soul rise. And this fall, no matter how painful as it seems, is the door to true healing. Lies usually start small, like shields to protect those who lie from the consequences of truth. But when the lie is thrown against someone spiritually high, it acquires another nature, more dense, more dangerous. Not only does it obscure reality, but holds the soul in a prison of falsehood that is strengthened every day. At first, it is easy to ignore, but over time, weight increases, and what was once a simple deviation becomes an inner maze dead end. They try to pretend nothing happened, but everything reminds them of what they hid. It is like carrying a secret with a life of its own, that pulsates and stirring, demanding to be revealed. The spirit knows. Even when the rational mind insists on denying it, the soul cries out for liberation. The lie grows as a subtle poison, intoxicating relationships, sabotaging opportunities, corroding peace. The liar begins to realize that he is living in mismatch with the universe and himself. Nothing more flows naturally. The smile becomes forced, tranquility becomes pretending, and life loses its color. Everything becomes gray when one is in disagreement with the truth, and this perception slowly settles, like a thin rain that once becomes a storm. And when this storm arrives, there is no way to ignore. The burden becomes unbearable. The only way out seems to be confession, not by moral obligation, but by emotional survival. They can no longer take the disguise, fear, anxiety. They want to clean the soul, get rid of the weight they have created with their own hands. And they can only imagine one way: tell you the truth. Admit what they hid, no matter how late it is. Because at that moment they understood that they are no longer fighting you, but against their own conscience. Some requests for forgiveness are protocol. But when someone hurts a chosen one, the forgiveness they seek goes beyond simple acquittal. They don't just want to be excused, they want to breathe again. Because since the error, everything seems stagnant. The heart is heavy, the days are cloudy, and life has lost its shine. They try to move on, but it's like running with their feet attached to the floor. At some point they realize the forgiveness they need is neither social nor symbolic. It is spiritual, and this forgiveness can only come from you. They feel, even without understanding completely, that their forgiveness is like a key that can unlock everything that has been blocked from that error. It is as if His word has the power to reconnect the cut wires of their own soul. They seek this forgiveness as seeking air, and the more time goes by, the more this need turns into despair. They no longer want to justify what they did. They just want a chance to break free from the pain that consumes them. And they know that liberation will not come until they face you, as long as they do not look in their eyes and recognize the evil they have caused. And when they finally find the courage to seek you, it is not proud what they carry. It is humility. It is a silent request, a look that begs not only for acceptance but for relief. Because the forgiveness of a chosen one has a different power. He not only closes the wound, He heals the spirit. And even if you decide not to reopen ties, this gesture of releasing the other from the weight of error becomes a new chance to lightly live, a life that is only possible when the truth finds redemption. There are times when the mistake made seems to have erased all possible bridges. They tried to pretend they were well, tried to live as if nothing had happened. But time has revealed that the pain does not disappear. It just changes shape. It becomes tired, anxiety, a constant void. And in the midst of this emotional desert, one certainty arises. Only the truth can save them. Not as an attempt at reconciliation, but as a cry of help from the soul. They realize that there is no way to keep hiding. The lie is a wall that isolates them from all that is true. Confession then becomes the last hope of reconnecting with its own essence. This awakening does not happen suddenly, come in waves. First, the discomfort, then the signs, the words you said and echo in their thoughts, the looks they avoid, the meetings they dream of having. Gradually, understanding is installed. To deny the truth is to deny the light itself, and as painful as it may be, it is the only way to redemption. With each passing day without speaking, the weight grows. Life loses its colors, until the time comes when speaking is no longer an option. It becomes an existential necessity. When they finally decide to look for you, they do not seek applause or sympathy. Seek redemption. They want to show that there is still something pure within them, that still want to be better. And perhaps, only perhaps, they can rebuild some part of what was lost. Because the truth has this power. It does not erase the past, but it can rewrite the future. And in that future, even if they don't walk by their side, they hope to be able to live without the constant shadow of lies. Its light is not common. It illuminates, warms, transforms. And when someone who injured you begins to realize this, fear sets in. A deep, primitive fear of having closed a door that should never have played forever. They begin to realize how much their presence made a difference. Not just for affection, but for energy. You were a lighthouse. It was a guide. It was peace. And now the absence of their light makes them dive into a kind of darkness that no other presence can dissipate. They feel that something essential was lost. And it was. This perception torments them. Because the more you grow spiritually, the more evident you become the abyss that now exists between you. They see their light expanding while theirs seems to weaken. And the greatest fear is not just that you have gone away. It's never back. That never allows them to approach their energy. They try to distract themselves, get busy, reinvent themselves, but nothing replaces what they lost. You have become a symbol of the purest connection you have ever experienced. And now, this connection seems unrecoverable. The only way they see to at least try to recover what was lost is to confess. Bring the truth, not as a reconquest attempt, but as a last gesture of humility. They know that you may not accept them back, but still need to say. Because losing access to your light is losing your way, it is wandering without direction. Truth becomes an appeal, a silent prayer so that even by far its light one day will touch your lives again. They fled, denied, hid. But now, after all turns, after all attempts to move on, there is only one truth left. There is no freedom possible without looking at you. Confession is no longer a gesture of regret. It is a door to leave the weight, the guilt, the lie behind. This is not forgiveness, reconciliation, or second chance. It is something more primal. It is the soul asking for liberation. They understand finally that they can no longer carry it alone. The truth needs to be said, not for you, but for them. The spirit begins to scream when it is imprisoned, and theirs is in despair. Every attempt at temporary relief failed. No distraction was sufficient. No new path worked, because they were trying to move on with something broken within themselves. And this fracture can only be healed with the truth. You have become the silent witness of what needs to be repaired. And confessing to you is, for them, the only possible way to rescue a fragment of freedom they have lost. And when this moment comes, it will be great. Because it will not be a common conversation. It will be an act of courage. A deep dive into everything that was denied, hidden, avoided. The truth will be placed at your feet, not as requested, but as an offering, as the final key to breaking the chains. And there before you they will not just apologize. They will be seeking to break free from the shadows that keep them stuck, because confessing to you is finally the only way to be full again.